Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga Show, the predictions edition. Matchweek 23, we're really starting to get into the kind of nitty-gritty of the season now. Obviously, just 12 match days remaining of this season. A lot can happen during that time. Obviously, we're going to talk about the relegation, which basically, half of the teams in the league are involved with that at the minute. Then the very exciting and high-quality Champions League race at the minute with a lot of informed teams in that part of the division. And then obviously the kind of fledgling title race as well, which hopefully we will get, but who knows ahead of the next 12 match weeks. So, yeah, for those of you that have kind of, taken a bit of a break from the fascinating Winter Olympics that I've been watching quite a bit over the last 10 days or so, we're here with a bit of Bundesliga action, joined by our fantastic Peter Weiss. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing great, Mark. And first and foremost, hello. Carnival is, of course, over. Mardi Gras, as we call it down here in New Orleans and New Orleans. But we are... equal opportunity as a German American. I celebrate both forms of carnival. I do the the Mardi Gras thing down south here, and I do the stiff Nachhallemarschen, and so from the Karnevalsvereine there in Deutschland. What is it you English call it? It's something horribly boring. Of course, granted, you're a Protestant nation, but
yeah. We literally don't say, like, a lot of people have been asking me about that in the last week in the Bundesrepublik. Like, why do the English not celebrate Carnival? Because it seems like the whole world, like obviously you, Peter, over in the US, obviously a lot of Carnival cities in Germany as well, the likes of Koeln, Mainz, Dusseldorf, I believe, are the big three. But obviously the brilliant scenes from Copacabana as well over in Brazil. You can see great scenes from there. But unfortunately in England, there's nothing, basically. So, but we have our other celebrations anyway. But definitely, I think the people over in England could do with a little bit of winter cheer this time of year. But yeah, definitely Bundesliga is going to bring us that as well. Along with Carnival and the fantastic sport that's going on in the world. I don't even know what to watch next at the minute with the sport. We've got the Six Nations, the Winter Olympics, is obviously Bundesliga, Champions League, Europa League tonight as well, darts even. It's been a great sporting month, actually, for a lot of you guys all over the world, really. So great news on that front. We've already got Lawrence checking in as well, which is fantastic. Here we go. Excited for the show, guys. Definitely. Bundesliga starting to hot up now, isn't it? And obviously so much to play for at both ends of the division. I got over to my game of the season as well, by the way. Absolutely brilliant scenes, Peter. I know your father won't be too happy watching the Nuremberg Karlsruhe last week, but watching that 5-1 live, that was brilliant. And some of the choreo as well. I'm not sure if you saw it, Peter, before the game. Absolutely superb choreo from the FCN, that particular game. I can send you some videos over later of it, actually, but definitely. Let's head over to match week 23 anyway, and your curtain raiser for the match week here on the Bundesliga show. Obviously, interesting match, curtain raiser really for this match week. Obviously, it's Mainz versus Hamburg. Two sides who had very, very different weeks last week, didn't they? Obviously, Hamburg come onto this game on the back of a 5-match unbeaten run. Pretty impressive, beating Union Berlin with 3 pretty nice goals last week. Obviously, 2 from that boy, Königsdörfer, who is maybe finally starting to show himself as a Bundesliga performer nowadays after 3 goals in his last 2 matches. Mainz obviously come into it in different form, though, don't they? They were pretty dreadful against Dortmund really last week, I felt. It was just over in the UK, we would describe it as a non-performance from them, basically. They just didn't really show up at all. They were already long beaten by the half-time stage. Obviously conceding 4 goals from headers as well in the game, 3 in the first half. It was a pretty disappointing performance from them, obviously on the back of a bit of an improvement under Urs Fischer. But they remain on just 21 points coming into this game. Hamburg are 4 points better off now at 25. And obviously start this game as a top half side as well. They are 9th in the table as we kick off this game on Friday evening. As for the game, I mean, it's a pretty tough one to tip, to be honest, because Mainz have improved the home form. Obviously, carnival spirit will still be in the air over there in Mainz, so I'm sure it'll be a very good atmosphere, a full house, I would imagine, for this game. A lot of travelling HSV fans as well in Rhineland-Hessen. Should be a good game. I mean, we're obviously looking at that man Amiri really for Mainz, aren't we? The main man for them. 8 goals for the season, put in a really impressive shift in a large way this season. But, I mean, yeah, they're still lacking up top a little bit. Obviously, Philip Tietz was their big signing in the January. He got that 1 goal, didn't he? But he seems to have gone off the boil a little bit, similar to how he ended his time at Augsburg, unfortunately, too. We've not seen that much from Geraldo Becker yet. I think he's been a little bit rusty on return to the Bundesliga, which is normal because I believe he hadn't played that much prior to that. Silas has maybe looked a little bit brighter with obviously that really good goal against Leipzig a few weeks ago. Obviously, for the HSV, things are looking a lot better for them. I mean, they've got so many form players at the minute. Capaldo, Vuskovic, who we mention almost every show at the minute. Muheim has been good. Königsdörfer. Obviously, the returning Robert Glatzel as well last week, putting a good shift as well. There's just so many good things to say about the HSV under Merlin Polzin at the minute. So I'm actually going to tip them to continue the form. I believe they're going to get a win in Rhineland-Hessen for this game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 HSV win because I just think the stars are starting to align for them a little bit. And I think the performances are good. They're starting to score a few more goals now as well. And I think they will go there and get the win 2-1. Peter?
Yes, I'll absolutely concur. Of course, so much is going right for HSV at the moment. You are absolutely correct. They have a great deal of momentum. Königsdörfer scored his inaugural Bundesliga brace last week. And isn't that something? It's a double waffle party for our Ghanaian international that has been the subject of much ire. Of course, it's interesting that now that Carnival is over, we begin with the Karnevalsverein, and there is going to be a little bit of a Carnival hangover, in my opinion, there in the capital of my beloved Palatinate. We have some injuries to report. Stefan Bell is out, and if you had said that a couple of years ago, that really wouldn't have mattered. But I think it's a vital component for this defense. And I don't see Patulski holding up this resurgent HSV attack. Don't know whether or not Downs will start in place of Glatzel, because I think Glatzel did an excellent job drawing coverage and enabling Königsdörfer to get that brace last week. Vuskovic is actually suspended for this one. So we're going to have to rely on, and Capaldo has been fighting off a cold. So there may be some issues within the HSV defensive core. However, I don't think that's going to matter much against this anemic Mainz attack. I think we're actually going to see, over the course of the season now that they do have 21 points, we're going to see a great cooling off from Urs Fischer's Rheinhessen. And I'm going to tip a 2-1 HSV victory in that case. I think that Vamed Armari, our wonderful Comoros international, who didn't quite make the AFCON cut, will fill in and deputize for Vuskovic well enough. And I don't see Mainz scoring a goal in this one. I don't see them playing the Nahalamash. I was listening to it earlier today, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on now. All right, that's enough.
It's almost as stiff as that Eintracht from mine. From mine, isn't it? Yeah. It's
which
like,
actually that provides us
really do love a kind of stiff old anthem sometimes.
Well, actually, that provides us an excellent segue into a match that may or may not be significantly competitive this weekend. One would think that it should be competitive. After all, we have 2 Bundesliga Champions League representatives here in FC Bayern Muenchen and our beloved Herzen von Europa, Eintracht von Main. Nur du sollst heute siegen, Eintracht von Main, weil wir dich alle lieben. Schieß doch ein
Tor.
There's a lot to say about this one, and I personally don't see this one being competitive, unfortunately. A lot of people are enamored with Albert Riera, particularly my English colleagues. My English football writing colleagues are very enamored with him because he, of course, conducts English language pressers. So from their lens, they may have never seen a Bundesliga trainer who has conducted English language pressers before. From their lens, he's like this Spanish mastermind, this James Bond villain, who is sitting there like, I am Albert Riera, I sprinkle the freta, I'm genius, I am Xabi Alonso second coming, I players, they do these. I think it's an interesting public relations move from the SKA. However, I mean, the first match that I covered, it was some of the most boring tiki-taka football that you had ever witnessed, and that's what Riera is there to build. He's there for a very fiery image PR stunt. However, when it comes to the actual football, I'm not quite sure that they can deliver. Bayern remain ridiculously good this season. Some people are wondering what the rotations are going to be, and I just don't really think it matters whether or not Leonard Carl or Jamal Musiala starts. I mean, when you look at the Bundesliga scoring charts, you have Harry Kane, Luis Diaz, and Michael Olise, who is closing in on perhaps an assist record. He's got 18 of them. I think the record belongs to Emil Forsberg, who got 22 assists in a single Bundesliga campaign. Thomas Müller not far behind with 21, and I do believe Olise is going to break that record this season. As if Bayern haven't broken enough freaking records. It's probably also going to be the case that Harry Kane breaks Robert Lewandowski's single-season Bundesliga scoring record. He's on pace. He's right where Lewandowski was at this point last season. And Lewandowski missed 4 matches injured during that 2020-21 campaign. So I think Kane's going to smash that record. Eintracht are rife with problems. Last week's 3-0 win over Borussia Moenchengladbach, you just have to chalk that off. Gladbach are totally wretched at the moment. And Eintracht are beset by more injury problems. They did lose Rasmus Christensen, possibly for the season, to operation this week. Artur Teata is also gone, which means we have Collins and all of these problems. Kalimuendo, his shoulder injury is not as serious as initially thought, which might lead to our boy Johnny Burkhardt getting a surprise start this week against Bayern, but it's too early for him to be effective. He's been out for far, far too long. There's some positives that Riera has done with Eintracht. Obviously, he's lit a fire under Jean Matteo Bohoya's posterior. All of a sudden, he's playing well again. Our boy Echkuyab, our Ayube Anamui Echkuyab.
Echkuyab. It's a good name, that one.
Congratulations for that. Is playing well, but I don't see this one being competitive, and I'm going with a 4-1 Bayern victory. And at the press conference afterwards, Albert Riera can hem and haw and say he did not go to Plan de Fuet. That was not there all he wants, and this I don't see this being competitive. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, to be honest, I think this is the game in the Hinrunde where it all kind of fell apart, really, for Frankfurt. Let's not forget that this time in the Hinrunde, after like 6 games or so, people were talking about them as title contenders. Let's not forget that. And then Bayern went there, and as they've done to most teams this season, they absolutely sweep them aside 3-0, barely even breaking out of third gear, really, that particular evening. I think it was a Saturday evening top spiel, that game. And it was just so easy. And after that, they just never, it almost seemed to knock their confidence, really. And obviously, a lot of the players, remember they kicked off the season in brilliant style as well. The likes of Chanozun, Chaibi, Larsson, they were absolutely killing it early doors, And then I think after that, they just never really looked the same side. And obviously, they got the win on the board, as you correctly said, Peter, last week. It was a very easy win, but as you say, it was more because Gladbach were just woeful, basically. It was another non-performance from them, as we've seen for most of the season, really, to be honest, particularly in 2026 so far. But, Yeah, Bayern are still looking amazing. You know, they absolutely thrashed Werder Bremen away last week, which is not really a shock to anyone. Harry Kane looking back to his best with a really nice strike for that second goal as well, that low curler in off the post. Yeah, so they're looking very hot. I think this could be a goal fest, to be honest with you, because I've got to be honest, I think Bayern haven't looked as good defensively in the last few weeks. I think Alphonso Davies hasn't really impressed me that much on return, to be honest with you. I think if he starts the game, I think obviously they've got a few issues with Upamecano as well in the background, so maybe his head is not fully in it at the minute. So I actually see Frankfurt getting a couple of goals in this game. I'm going to go for a very big, high-scoring match. I agree that all eyes are going to be on that man Michael Elise, who's just racked up, as you say, a ridiculous number of assists already. He's going to probably break that record, and Bayern are going to probably more or less definitely break the league record of the Bundesliga. You know, they're already on 82 goals with 12 games to go. And I'm going to predict they're going to get another 5 here against the SGE. But it's going to be a good game for me. It's going to be a very watchable fixture. It's going to end 5-2 to the home side, this one. So let's move on to another game. So Wolfsburg, Augsburg, interesting fixture, this one. Obviously a game that I've attended a couple of times, but in the VWK arena down there. Actually, an interesting fact coming into this one, that Augsburg are 8 games unbeaten against Wolfsburg in the league, which is quite a hell of a stat, really, isn't it? With 5 wins for the FCA and 3 draws. This fixture last season finished in a 1-1 draw, but the FCA were able to comfortably beat Wolfsburg at home in one of the very few Sandro Wagner wins in the Hinrunde. Yeah, and actually they won in style as well. They were 3-0 up and then really, really comfortable. It was one of the few times they actually played well under Sandro. I'm still not over the heartache of the Sandro era yet, but that was one of the few good moments under him. And as you say, sometimes these kind of runs just keep going on, don't they? Like it's kind of, they don't like playing the FCA. Obviously, the FCA's game, the style definitely stacks up well against Wolfsburg in recent years. As Lawrence says, there's going to be no Wimmer as well. I think the only danger for Wolfsburg is the return to form of Van Mura in recent weeks. I think he scored a really good goal last week against Leipzig. I still feel as though Amura is one of those players that doesn't get as much credit as he should. Like, I know he's not always the most likable character. Obviously, he gets involved with quite a few dust-ups and stuff like that. And I know that Germans tend to prefer a team player rather than an individual, and you could definitely accuse Amura of being more on the individual side of things. I definitely think that. But at the end of the day, he's got 8 goals again, backing up a really good debut season last year for a poor side, let's be honest. He's got 8 league goals, and he scored a really good strike last week against Leipzig as well, in what was a kind of backs-to-the-wall point where they only really had 2 or 3 chances in the game, and they managed to get 2 goals, obviously, in that one. The other one coming from Svanberg. So as for the FCA, things are slowly looking better. I mean, last week's win over Heidenheim was a real turgid affair, to be honest with you. It really was. It wasn't a pretty game for the eyes. But obviously, it was a huge 3 points for the FCA, and you've just got to get those wins ultimately. In these relegation 6 points, you have to get those kind of wins. They managed to do it. Obviously, Claude Maurice came out after the game and said, it's all right winning, but we want to play better and win as well. So I still think there's a certain level of expectation on the FCA here against their, Lieblingsgegner, as they say, their favorite opponent. And I feel as though the FCA, I'm going to back them here, actually. I'm going to back our boys, our Bavarians, to get a 2-1 away win. I feel as though Claude Maurice is back to his absolute best. He's going to be a real handful. And I think I've always been a believer in these kind of like bogey teams and things like that. And I feel as though Augsburg are definitely the bogey team of Wolfsburg. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win here. Peter?
I'm going to disagree. I actually watched both Sunday matches in last Bundesliga weekend. Instead of taking advantage of the beautiful weather, going to the parade, maybe checking out an American ball game, or hell, just going out and watching a bunch of high school kids play football probably would have been more entertaining than watching FCA. However, I really do think that Heidenheim were by far the better team in that match, and I think that Heidenheim actually, I have some really good things to say about Heidenheim. I know it's probably not the way to get to that, but Christian Joe Conte, the younger brother of Sir Lord Conte, Sir Lord Calvin Conte, and his younger brother, so Sir Lord Calvin Conte, is the the undersheriff of Shropshire. And then we have Christian Joe Conte from Deep South Alabama. Christian Joe, windmill cut his head, but the head grew back in good. I think Conte was great. I really like Dinky working as that deep 10. I think Schimmer was a little unlucky to score in some instances. Same applies to Schöpner and Niehuys and even Behrens. So I think Heidenheim played a really good match, and I think Augsburg were woefully unconvincing. The penalty that enabled them to win the match was legitimate enough, but also kind of a give back call after that horrible penalty that they were that Mainz were awarded in the previous match. Now, when it comes to Wolfsburg, this 2-2 draw with Leipzig, I think both teams played significantly well. And Svanberg, who had been linked with a transfer out in the window, came in and just made an excellent impact. I don't know, has it been confirmed that Wimmer is not available? I think that Wimmer might be available for a start. That was the last that I heard. That would be huge for Wolfsburg, obviously, because Shiogai has been a flop as a 10. He's been a flop on the left. I mean, they've tried all sorts of different things with him. He's just not ready for this level yet. However, the new midfield double six access of Arnold and Eriksson is working out well. I really, really like what Daniel Bauer has done with the defensive ranks. He's had Jean-Noël Belocian, the Leverkusen loanee, is now his starting left back. And Mark, one of our favorite boys, Moritz Mercedes Jens.
Yeah.
Have you forgotten about Moritz Mercedes Jens? If you did,
it's not a good timing for the FCA, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't think that. I mean, that Jens and Vavro with his issues would be this good center back pairing. But actually Bauer is keeping them in the starting 11 because both of them are so strong on set plays. So I think that Wolfsburg are going to take this 2-1 and move out of the relegation zone with it. They picked up a huge point in Leipzig last week and impressed me despite the fact that I was willing to give up on large swaths of the team. So I will say Wolfsburg win 2-1 at home here.
Yeah. So the first big disagreement of the week there you go. Maybe I'm a little bit biased supporting my FCA there, but maybe more in hope rather than expectation, as they say. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. The next Halbvier is going to be Union Berlin, Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, obviously, Leverkusen come into this game after that really impressive 2-0 win in Olympiacos, where they were obviously able to reverse the poor defeat that they faced in the group stage there, thanks to a double from Paddy Schick, the returning and in-form Paddy Schick, who obviously got a goal as well against St. Pauli the week before. So I think Leverkusen come into this game in form. You know, they look good in both games. I thought the performance against Olympiacos was probably the best in my eyes under Hjulmand. I thought they were brilliant the whole game. They should have been ahead well before they went ahead as well in the game. They dominated the first half as well. And I felt as though that was in a difficult conditions, it was a really good win for them. I think the likes of Poku are playing well. Kofane has gone a little bit off form, which is disappointing because obviously he had that great AFCON, didn't he? And he's come back and he's not had that much game time. So I'd like to see him get a few more run-outs because I think he's the real class of that team. He's the one that in the future is going to be sold potentially for the kind of money that we've seen Leverkusen sell in recent years, I should say. I think Tapsoba is looking back on form and defensively they're looking quite solid. You know, obviously we've seen them keep quite quite a lot of clean sheets in recent weeks. Admittedly, 2 of them against Pauli as well. So they come into this game in quite good shakes in my eyes. They've obviously got a lot of rotation there. They will rotate for this game. But there's a lot of strength in depth in that side still. And I think we're starting to see that a lot of those players that were hired in the summer, last summer, are starting to really kind of look like good players now. You know, as I've already mentioned, Poku, Tillman is still a little bit in and out of form, but he is getting a few goals, you know, which is what you want from a player like him when you sign him for 30 million euros. But as for Union, things are not looking as good, anywhere near as good as they were like a month ago. They've not had a good start to 2026 at all, in my eyes. I felt as though, in my eyes, they were quite comprehensively beaten, really, last week against Hamburg. I know that the XG doesn't really show that, but you always felt, I watched the game on conference, and you always felt as though, even when Hamburg were a goal down, you felt as though they were the better team, really, in that match. Obviously, Illich, the advantage for them is that Illich finally got his first goal of the season with a late header, a towering header. It has to be remembered he has got 7 assists, though, which is still quite a fair number. So it's not like he's had a complete, you know, balls up of a season, basically. But it was good for them to get his first goal. The issue for me with Union is that the front line is so inconsistent. You know, Anza obviously hit the bar with a free kick last week, but he really comes in and out of form for me. Chris Burke's another one who's really guilty of that too. Like, he'll have one storming game and then an absolute stinker the week after. Like, he's not been getting much game time in recent weeks. Even defensively, I feel as though defensively they've not been at their absolute best either in recent weeks. Querfeld, obviously on paper, it's a very strong defense. You know, Querfeld, Light, and Dookie, but they've been conceding way more goals than what you'd expect from an Union side. So, all that considered, I think it's Leverkusen's day, this one. I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win for the Bayern 04. Peter?
Absolutely. The only thing that can stop Leverkusen in this match would be the rotations. If Hjulmand rotates too much. I mean, this is Leverkusen are, of course, making at the right time. As you correctly observed, now is when the summer signings are really settling in. You know, Ibrahim Matza has a regular tactical role now. He's not exactly Flo Wirtz, but I mean, he's got the same sort of skill set. Grimaldo in his new tactical role is settling in well. Andrich now, you know, moved into the back 3, works out, and you know it's beginning to, you know, take shape where you see that Poku is kind of the replacement for Frimpong, even though he plays on the opposite side, or Kwanzaa is the replacement for Ta. You know, it just all kind of comes together. And what was going well for Union was this sort of super sub streak from Stefan Baumgart, which has dried up in the meantime. I do think that, as I said, rotations may slow down Leverkusen a bit. That's why they're not going to win this game 4-0, 5-0. They might anyway. It's probably about time for Kofane's AFCON hangover to be over with, just as it is, as I'm keeping a close eye on Stuttgart Celtic here. And El Canous has finally woken up after a long slumber. So this is right about the time where a lot of the AFCON players are back in rhythm, they're back in form, and they're going to start playing better again. Yeah, I mean, with Union, they just they never really did have the consistent quality up front. There's a lot of Zweite Bundesliga players. I think everybody should keep an eye on Livan Berchu, who has been integrated into the squad recently and might get the start this week. I think that he is an excellent prospect. He unfortunately had some knee problems over the summer, but he's one to watch in my estimation.
Yeah, so a full house for Leverkusen in this game. So yeah, let's move on to another one where a lot of people will be tipping the away side. Obviously, FC Koeln versus Hoffenheim. So go on, Peter, I'll let you lead out on this one.
Well, I mean, you know, unfortunately with Koeln, talk about lack of quality, really. I mean, they have quality that is great from a German perspective. You know, when particularly now that you see that double striker set of Ache and Brüte.
Yeah.
That gets
the Titans there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it gets Germans very, very excited. And, you know, there's all sorts of cool things with Koeln. The set piece defending continues to be atrocious. That's what sunk them last week. And they went through a phase like this early in the season too, where Kwasniok was really chastising the crew and saying, we just cannot, we're not defending set plays as well as we should have, given all of the time that we're investing in training. And I mean, it's just sad news because Hoffenheim are so goddamn good, and they're good in every area. Okay, I mean, this is just sad for a German. I mean, I don't. Even though it's a home match, Koeln are also in for a carnival hangover, and I see this as a 3-1 Hoffenheim victory. And to pick myself up, I'm going to play the Mainz in the Halle Marschen again. It's
Brilliant. Yeah. Greetings to DM as well.
Hey, what's going on?
Servus to you. Yeah. And I think we're going to complete our second straight. Full house there. I mean, it's very hard to look beyond the TSG in this one, who just continue to play beautiful football. Like, I mean, no one can deny what they've done this season, as a team. And that's what we talked about. Leverkusen's signings taking a bit longer to settle in, but TSGs were going from day one, basically, of this season. They were, the likes of Burger has just been outstanding. Avdallahu, Torre, Aslani, the returning Aslani continues to get goals. And I mean, they're even getting a tune out of Kabak, at the minute. I mean, if they can get tune out of here is possible, really, but everything's working for them and everything's not working for Koeln at the minute. And I actually think Koeln have been not criticized enough for recent form. Actually, let's not forget the way they performed early doors. They already had 7 points from the first 3 games, and since then they've only picked up 16 in the subsequent 20 games, which is that's relegation form at the end of the day. And they've lost 11 games just basically in the last 19. 11 out of the last 19 games. I mean, that's poor form. It really is, And I think, obviously, Kwasniok got a lot of praise early doors, with that wearing the shirt in the sunny weather, the sunny August weather. Everything looked like it was going great at Koeln, didn't it? But, I mean, right now, things are not looking that rosy for them. And they're not getting battered in games, but they often look second best, to be honest with you. I mean, I watched the full game against Leipzig a couple of weeks ago, and people said they harried and hustled, but they were still well beaten ultimately. Like, Leipzig were by far the better team. And last week again against Stuttgart, obviously they got that really good equalizer through Archer. And then, which always brings a smile to Peter and I's face, really, doesn't it? Obviously, we're both big fans of him, even though he used to do a job on Nuremberg pretty much every time they played. But still, he's a bit of a cult hero. But there's not a lot of good to say about Koeln at the minute. I mean, El Mahler is still getting benched almost every game, which, is kind of, I know his fitness issues and stuff, but I bet he's barely started half of the games this season for them. It seems a little bit bizarre at times, really. But, I mean, for me, the kind of honeymoon period is well and truly over for Kwasniok, actually. And they're still in a relegation dogfight, as far as I'm concerned. And I see them losing this one quite heavily. I'm actually going to go for a 3-0, I'm afraid, here. I think the TSG are far too good for this Koeln side. And they're just enjoying being party poopers this season, really, aren't they? I mean, everything's working for them, Most of Germany is just praying that they're going to derail at some point, but it's just not happening. They keep winning games, bouncing back from every minor kind of down, like poor result, but they don't get many poor results at all, And I'd see them winning this game easily again in a 3-0 Hoffenheim win for me. So let's move on to the top spiel, which obviously is a game that's going to get a lot of people excited, particularly outside of Germany. This is the kind of game that gets a lot of people like tuning in, so to speak. RB Leipzig versus Dortmund. And it is an interesting game. Obviously, there's a lot that rely on it. Obviously, Leipzig chasing Champions League. Dortmund more or less guaranteed Champions League and still chasing the title, technically. Although, I think it was, who was it that came out and said, no, Koeln, I think it was, wasn't it, a few weeks ago? He massively refused the fact that Dortmund are involved in a title race. Schlotterbeck had other ideas, but we'll have to see. This is going to be one of the big tests. The next 2 weeks, they got Leipzig and Bayern, and that is going to tell us ultimately whether there is a title race this season, as far as I'm concerned. But as for this game, for me, they look quite well set. I mean, again, another Riasson assist in midweek for Guirassy in what was quite a comfortable win over Atalanta. I thought that was a potential banana skin tie against an Atalanta side who caused a lot of problems for German teams in the last 2 or 3 years. We've seen them roll over, Leverkusen. We've seen them roll over Frankfurt and Stuttgart just in the last couple of years. So for Dortmund to brush them aside relatively comfortably, reduce them to little to no chances in the game, really. So it is looking good for Dortmund. It's this new style of play that we're seeing from Dortmund, which is not really that pretty to watch, but it's extremely effective. Nobody can deny that. I mean, it's very kind of up in the air, Riasson and Svensson providing the assists for what is at times quite an ineffective midfield with the still underperforming Joe Bellingham, as far as I'm concerned. Nemecha much better, though he's been really good at times this season. So, yeah, all things considered, Leipzig are very, very up and down. Like, as you say, I agree that the game was very good on Sunday, Peter. I think both teams played well, and there were a lot of positives that could be said for Leipzig. But defensively, it doesn't look too good at the minute. I mean, Seiwald has been dropped to a centre-back at times this season, and that's not worked for me. Obviously, Finkgrafer came in last week too, and I didn't think he was particularly great, in all honesty. Maybe he should have stayed at Koeln after all. He would have got a bit more game time. But for me, this is going to be Dortmund's day again. Once again, Dortmund are going to play a counter-attacking game in this one, and they're going to do it well, probably with another assist from either Riasson or Svensson in this game. I think they're going to get a 3-1 win at the Red Bull Arena, Peter.
I have bad news for those who are still hoping for a title race. And I think that this is, when you look at Dortmund and you look at their recent matches, I think too much has been made out of it. I think that the German press and the international press as well wants there to be something of a title race. They were very, very lucky to win against Heidenheim. That's on match day 20. They played a very poor second half against Wolfsburg the subsequent week. We, of course, have that 4-0 win over Mainz, and that was a new club record for Riasson, who got 4 assists in one match. However, that last one shouldn't really have counted because I think it was an own goal from Dominic Kor. So, I mean, that was an anomaly. And then everybody wants to make a big deal out of the fact that Riasson picked up more assists in the Champions League this week. But as I opened the show, or near the beginning of the show, I was talking about Elise with his 18 assists. I mean, we're trying to make something out of this. We're trying to get Dortmund up to Bayern level because the points totals are it's 6 points. But these two teams are not comparable. I mean, you can't compare Riasson, and Bellingham has been getting great marks in the German press too, and I think, as you do, that this is just a little bit overrated. I mean, we're making a little bit too much out of Bellingham there, perhaps because we want to keep Mark Bellingham, aka Rasputin. But it's just, I don't know. It's so. This win over I mean, Anton Bensebaini and this new, I like the name of the new kid, Luca Reggiani.
Typical Italian name, that one.
Luca Reggiani is here in Dortmund.
Ricotta.
Yeah, nobody's going to invite him out to dinner. It's going to be like, what's his face? But I mean, it's. I look at them, they're doing a good job, they're doing a solid job, they're getting the job done, but it's nothing particularly spectacular out of it. I mean, even Guirassi's goals, I mean, he's still missing from the penalty spot, he's still missing sitters and all of this stuff. And I have to say that Leipzig, I mean, they're up and down, but they are sort of crystallizing as well. And part of it has to do with I think Brajan Gruda what a debut he had last week. Now that he's back in the Bundesliga, much to the chagrin of the Brighton fans. I think Schlager can work just fine in front of Seiwald and Baumgartner. So they had a little bit of an off day. Diomande remains pretty damn incredible. Fink Gräfe was, for God's sakes, he barely played all season. What do you want? I mean, it's Van de Voort he got pushed in because of the Gulashi injury, wasn't quite ready, and Henriks has only just come back. So I have very bad news here. I think Leipzig are going to win this 3-2, and I think that the title race is going to be over before Dortmund and Bayern face off next week. Again, it's depressing, so here comes an Ahala.
It's not like you to predict wins for all the company clubs, Peter. You just completed the quadruple. 4 wins out of 4 for the companies.
Oh, shit. Let me put the march back on. Hold on. Where's my button? Deutschland,
There we go. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, let's move on to Sunday. Anyway, we've got a triple header on Sunday. That's brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, the first game, although I'm not sure Gladbach fans will really share our enthusiasm, to be honest about that. They travel to Freiburg for the opener on Sunday. Whoa, what can you say about them? I mean, Gladbach are utterly woeful at the minute. They really are. I mean, how Polanski is still in a job, I will never know, to be honest. I honestly thought after how poor they were last week against Frankfurt, I thought that was the final nail in the final coffin, really. But as it happened, it wasn't, and he's still in a job somehow. But obviously another difficult away trip in this week against the Freiburg side, who are very kind of mechanical, aren't they? But they do tend to win most of the games at home, let's be honest. I mean, last week they were just utterly battered, really, by Hoffenheim, in that game. They could have lost a lot more than 3-0, to be honest. It was that kind of game. I feel as though with Freiburg, the one of those teams this year where they can't really compete against the better teams in the league. They're just not at that level to go against the likes of, Bayern, Hoffenheim, Stuttgart, and those kind of sides. But they tend to be better than the tight sides in the bottom half. They tend to get a lot of wins, particularly at home against those kind of teams. For me, it's been a weird season for Freiburg, and I think we mentioned it with Rory last week. I mean, on paper, things are going great. They're in the last 16 of the Europa League, which is a great achievement again, continuing their great form in Europe over the last few years. They're in the Pokal semi-finals as well after that. Obviously, that penalty shootout, rather fortunate win over Hertha Berlin. And they're obviously set 8th in the league right now. So on paper, things are great. But you feel as though performance-wise, it's a little bit flat at the minute. And to be honest, when I watch the games at the Europa Park Stadion, it doesn't look as though the fans are really enjoying what they're seeing at times from this Freiburg side. Obviously, when we went, Peter, it was absolutely rocking that Friday night, wasn't it, with that brilliant 3-2 game. But at times, obviously, they've had a lot of Sunday games this year, and sometimes the Sunday games aren't quite as good atmosphere as the Friday or Saturday ones. But they're still winning games at the end of the day. I mean, they're not in any kind of relegation trouble. They've still got a lot to play for. I think Suzuki has been one player that's really stood out this season. Manzambi obviously got a red card in the last home game, so he should be back for this one. He's going to be a key return. It still tends to be the same kind of guys, doesn't it, that they roll out. The issue with Freiburg is there's not been a lot of change in that squad for years. We're still seeing Kubler. We're still seeing Gunther rolled out, Ginter as well, Eggestein. These guys are still getting regular game time, aren't they? But
What's wrong with those guys, Mark? Those are
for
great
me.
guys.
I think they will. They're great guys, but they've just been playing for like 10 years for the club without any kind of no, maybe not 10, but 5-6 years they've been going. I mean, they're great players in their own right, but all of them are well into the 30s now. You know what I mean?
Scored a brace for us. Oh, come on, Mark. Don't be so.
I love those players. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love them, but I just think, my honest thought is it's going a little bit stale in terms of a performance level, but they're still getting results. So I'm one of those guys, you know, as a proud Englishman, I believe first is results before performance. You know what I mean? And they are getting results. And I'm going to go for them to get another result in this game, but I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be a 1-0 SCF win. Peter?
Yes, we'll sync up exactly there. I think that, I mean, you're right. It's Freiburg not necessarily playing the most spectacular football at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with, I mean, well, Manzambi is suspended because that was his second straight red of the season.
Yeah.
So they hit him with a 3-match ban. You know, there have been moments where Suzuki has really, really come alive, particularly from the 10 slot this season. Besta did get his opening goal. Sherhunt has been a little bit more hit or miss, but Matanovic had that little scoring streak and things like this. I mean, they'll win, and I think that Gladbach will play better defensively. And maybe that's not saying much. I mean, it took me forever to figure out what was going on, you know, with Gladbach defensively, and then I realized, and I can't believe it took me this long to realize, Philippe Sander was playing in the back three, for crying out loud. He didn't have. Instead of Kevin, well, he didn't have Kevin Dix last week. So, I mean, oh God, that was a horrible defensive performance last week. And Philippe Sander, I know I don't want to ever see him in the back again. I mean, that was the guy. That's an attacking fielder that you put in central defense. But I mean, I guess he didn't have any.
No, I think it just about sums up Polanski's reign since he got the job full time, really, doesn't it?
Well, and I covered Polanski's press conference too, and I really didn't like it. I mean, he placed the blame squarely on the players and was just like, oh, they're not executing in both penalty areas, and you know, we practice this and all of this stuff, but they're just not coming through for me. And I mean, Polanski was a sympathetic character initially because he wasn't somebody who you thought was going to get the job, and you think, oh, that's great that they you know, promote the reserve trainer, and he'll bring up some of his boys and things like that, like Charles Herman. We had high hopes for him. Actually, they ended up selling him for a healthy. Yeah, I mean, with Dick's back, they'll play better defensively. I don't know how much longer Polanski has, really. It's not totally his, you know, fault or tactical mismanagement. It just, you know, he was very much out of his depth, and you know, Polanski also Saeed Al-Mala played underneath Polanski, but you can draw your own conclusions from the fact that Polanski didn't, you know, sort of gave up on him. I mean, Al-Mala is a temperamental young lad who is a dribbling artist and has his own problems. But anyways, yeah, I guess, I mean, it's foreseeable that they could do, you know, a coaching change before the end of the season. I think probably they get together enough points under Polanski and they just part company with him after the season and put a new guy in. I don't think that they're really going to. I mean, we'll see. The problem is that we've got several other teams, a couple of which we're about to discuss in this next match. If you want me to go ahead and segue into that,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So Gladbach, bad, but Mainz are going to go through a very, very bad phase here. I have good things to say about Wolfsburg. I have great things to say about Heidenheim. But unfortunately, Heidenheim is not going to be able to make up the points total. And if you want to talk about this match, St. Pauli versus Bremen, have you tipped a goalless draw on this one? Because I certainly have. I see no possibility of either team scoring. I mean, who is going to score in this match and how? I've tried. I put a pencil to it. I went through the tactics. I looked at the roster. I'm like, who is going to score a goal in this match? And I couldn't think of anybody. Can you think of But
it's one of them that's going to need like some kind of dodgy penalty if there's going to be a goal in this one. And it's going to need one of those like dodgy VAR handball penalties, I think, if we're going to see a goal in this one. As you say, Peter, I mean, Werder, I've run out of words to say how bad they are, to be honest, right now. I mean, how can you end up with, like, obviously a team this is not a small team in the Bundesliga, it's a team with a decent budget, you know what I mean? And how they've ended up with an attack so blunt, you know what I mean? It's just absolutely shocking, really. And Tioan has come in and just done absolutely nothing, basically. Like, they've looked even more blunt in the 2 games that he's come in that they did, obviously, previously under.
We'll pronounce his name weirdly, Mark.
Yeah.
It's June, not Tioan.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to be like, I mean, if they get relegated at the end of the season, he's going to be like Paul Simonis. Nobody's going to remember that he was here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he is. Let's be honest, he was always seen as like a proper, like, cult Zweite coach, you know.
Yeah,
he's always, I mean, any Zweite fans, he's one of the first names on the list for like any job that comes available. But I think there was a bit of shock that he got appointed as Werder manager, because you never really, my problem with him is that, like, he was always like in the upper echelons of the second league, but he never actually managed to make the jump and get a team promoted, you know. He got like Hamburg close a couple of times, and he got Dusseldorf close, I guess, like 2-3 times as well. And he was the coach during that famous blow-up. Do you remember against Bochum? He was the coach of them in the unthinkable loss when they won 3-0 in the away leg and then were humbled at home 3-0 and lost on penalties.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think he's a good fighter coach, but to lead a poor team out of trouble, it's not going to be easy for him. And there are, again, Florian Kohfeldt kind of vibes I'm getting a little bit there. You know, he's a pretty relatively young guy, I think. And he's got this kind of casual look. He always turns up in his hoodie and blue jeans. You know, he's definitely not like a kind of coach that likes to dress up. But from what I've seen so far, it's just not been good at all. I watched a lot of the game against Bayern on the conference last week. I also watched the Freiburg game the week before, and I could barely really remember them having many chances in either game, to be honest with you. And as you say, the attack, obviously, he's been trying to go with like Njinma and Kiki Top, of all players, up there. And it's just not been working out.
He doesn't have anyone else. I mean, we did this just a couple of weeks ago where I listed all of these second access players that they have. I mean, they don't have any natural strikers. And
I mean, even Gruel, for me, is better in that position.
Well, he's never been a natural striker. Gruel has never been a natural striker. He worked up top with Marvin Duksch last season. But I mean, we've talked about Werder till we're blue in the face on this spot. We talked about the mismanagement. We talked about Clemens Fritz. We talked about the fact that, you know, these are all of these guys are second. They didn't even attempt to get a natural striker in the January transfer window. I mean, Milosevic is not one. He's a second access attacker. And you don't have anybody besides Njinma and KK Top to spearhead the attack. They've tried Krug. They've tried Schmid. They tried your buddy Victor Boniface, who I've been repeatedly I told you not to take him to McDonald's, Mark. It's all your fault. All your fault. I mean, look, it's Clemens Fritz's part. I mean, Milan didn't want Boniface because he failed the medical. He had these knee issues. He was out of shape. He was showing signs of psychological collapse, and they just picked him up anyway. It's so silly. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Let me go ahead and take us to the conclusion here. I say 0-0.
So let's go 0-0. Yeah, we're both going 0-0 on this one. Yeah, you've convinced me. Pauli are almost as bad going forward. Although at home they have looked a little bit better. I think if they can produce the vibes from the Stuttgart game, they'll probably nick a win here. But I've got a feeling that they're not going to do it. There's a lot more pressure on this game. I mean, if you look at the table, I mean, it's 17th versus 18th versus 16th. This game, it's an absolutely huge Sunday evening kickoff clash, this, and I just think it's going to be a massive letdown. I think both teams are crap, to be honest with you, and I think it's going to be a 0-0. The difference is with Pauli is that they've got an excuse to be this way because obviously they've got a much lower budget. They're quite limited with players ultimately, and they are a better drilled team, I think, than Werder, but ultimately this game is going to be too much pressure for them to get over the line. I mean, if they do get over the line, already the pressure is on Tijuana. Yeah, but it's. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to get a 0-0, and it's going to be a useless result for both teams. To be honest,
Tune is a that's
Tune.
Tune.
Anyway, because I know you love the FCH, all of a sudden, Peter, I'm going to let you lead out on this Baden-Württemberg, which is a derby that's not really a derby anyway.
No, oh yeah, I know. It's like the Freiburg Hoffenheim one, which does have like some good versus evil vibes, but. Yeah, I mean they call it a Swabian derby, and that's because I mean Stuttgart and Heidenheim are portions of Bavü that are proud Swabians, but Stuttgart is really Württemberg, and the Ostalben Schwaben here are more Swabian Alb, Bavü borderers, the no man's land, halfway between Mark and Peter, in their German stations. Well, I talked a little bit about Heidenheim before. I think it bears repeating that I really, really liked Frank Schmidt's tactics in the last match, and I think they were vastly superior to Augsburg, not only in pretty much every statistical category, but also optically. I might have been the only guy in the States watching Augsburg Heidenheim on a Sunday afternoon. But as I said, Dingchi as a 10 really worked out. Nihus, former Kaiserslautern player who has had horrible injury luck. He's now in a 6-6 setup with Schöpfner. Ibrahimovic provided some good scoring chances. Hennes Behrens, this one of the marquee Heidenheim signings of the January transfer window, as if anyone cares. I mean, I could write a piece about the marquee signings of Heidenheim's January transfer window, and I think a half a person might read it. If that's, I don't know how that works out arithmetically. In any case, yes, and Christian Joe Conte. Christian Joe! Christian Joe! Wouldn't that be great if Christian Joe played on the left, which he did last week, and Sir Lord Calvin played on the right? That could be really great stuff. But Stuttgart are, of course, the superior team. They are on the march, and they're doing a hell of a job at Parkhead. This evening, I've been watching this match, taking some notes in between sometimes, while of course still listening to Mark. I wouldn't be.
I hope so. Anyway,
of course, Mark. That's we're friends. I wouldn't do that to you. But yeah, I mean, so Stuttgart obviously win this. Probably 2-0, but. Okay, I'll give Heidenheim 1 goal. I think Conte and Conte are going to combine for 1 goal. So it's Stuttgart 2-1 away at the Voigt Arena in the Bavü no man's snowy Swabian Alb.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a big difference from obviously Parkhead, one of the kind of most iconic stadiums in Europe, obviously, to Heidenheim, basically, which is barely even a dot on the map. Basically, so it just proves football could be a crazy game sometimes, can't it? And just in the space of less than 3 days, that'll be the change of scene for the.
Remember when the Chelsea fans came to Heidenheim and
and God Save the King? Do you remember the tifo? God Save the King. That was a good one. That was a really smart. Yeah. But yeah, as for the game, I mean, as you say, Peter, I mean, VfB are just cantering at the minute. I just love the way that Hoeneß is using his squad at the minute. I think he's had a real success with the rotation this season. And I think he's done yet another stellar job in what is his 3rd successful season in a row at the club. I just think it's just been brilliant. It's been the league form and the performances have been better than last season. Obviously, last season delivered silverware, so it was still a great season, winning the Pokal and ending their trophy drought. But this season has been a step up in terms of performance for me. And I think there's just been so many standout performers, as you say. I mean, also defensively, they look so much better right now. I mean, Ramon Hendricks, that assist he got last week was superb. He's been one of the unsung heroes of this team for me. Great brilliant to see my former Nürnberger and fellow Franconian Finn Jelch really starting to come to form as well, because he didn't do very well in his first half season, but this season he's really come into what all Nuremberg fans knew that he was, a top quality centre back. And it's great to see him getting nights like this. Obviously, he started tonight, and I'm sure he's going to be really enjoying that experience over in Glasgow. But just the whole thing, the whole damn thing is going well for Stuttgart at the minute. You got Undar playing well. You got Demirovic back amongst the goals. Even Kanus, as you say, has got a double tonight. He's been the only one that's not really been on form in recent weeks, to be honest with you. You got the Stiller, Karatsaw axis, which for me is still when Stuttgart are at the best, when those two. Obviously, Karatsaw has managed to kind of dislodge Andres again, really, hasn't he, in the end. Just superb, really, for them. And, you know, their kind of glory 3 years continues. And I can see them picking up more silverware, to be honest, the VfB. I think they got a great chance in the Pokal, even though obviously Bayern will be hoping to get over the line there. And also in the Europa League, I think they got a great chance to bring glory back to Germany in that competition as well, because I think they look one of the leading teams in that. And, you know, that first half, obviously, against... the first half against Celtic is really impressive, to be honest. And I hope they can hold that out and see it through. But I think if they come through that tie, they're going to be really well driven Celtic at this stage of the competition. And they are going to get a win at Heidenheim as well in a game. I think they're going to get a 3-1 just because they got too much firepower in my eyes.
Are Rory and Travis going to do a little post-match on the channel later? Or?
I don't think they're going to do that today. No, but maybe after the next leg, I believe that they will. Yeah, I think they could. I think Rory wasn't quite available, but thanks to Left Footed as well, checking in, saying, yeah, good to see Mark and Peter united once again. Yeah, it's always a pleasure with you, sir. If Rory says, yeah, love the vibes and even the music. There you go, Peter. You got some fans as well. I hope you enjoy our random singing as well sometimes too. Yeah, trying to bring the vibes from the Bundesrepublik over to your screens as well. Thanks to you guys for commenting and joining in as well. You know, we hope for another win for Stuttgart this weekend, which would cap brilliant midweek for Bundesliga teams as well after the Leverkusen and Dortmund results. If you want to see more from the Bundesliga, then don't forget to check into Rory and Runa tomorrow with the Fantasy Show. Don't forget as well to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And also you'll find us on social media, particularly on Instagram, where we're very active, and you'll see all of the games that we attend, whether it's just me or whether it's me and Peter or whether we have other guests like Paul, Dave, or whatever over. You'll see it all on the Instagram as well. So yeah, thanks a lot again for joining us. It was a pleasure tonight, and we'll see you again on Monday on the other side of the week. So see you then, guys. Servus.